Hello and welcome to my second ever video review, this time of a game that is pushing my new rig a little bit harder than Terraria did last week. Today I'll be reviewing the Counter-Strike Global Offensive beta that has been open since the 14th of August to people who pre-ordered the game. While there are almost certainly going to be a bunch of changes incoming when the official release happens, the beta has been relatively stable, and so I feel that providing my main impressions now and maybe a little update when the official release is out is a reasonably fair thing to do. Because of the nature of the Counter-Strike series, I'll give new players a bit of an intro first, and then go into the details of what's changed for those of us who are coming to CSGO from a previous version. So, without any further ado, this is Counter-Strike Go. Counter-Strike has been a staple of the online PC multiplayer genre for well over a decade now, having seen its first iteration as a mod of the original Half-Life in 1999. That original version was picked up by Valve and polished into Counter-Strike 1.6, still competitively played to this day. From there on in, it seemed to be iterated every time the graphics could be made to look noticeably better. This gave us Counter-Strike Condition Zero, generally regarded as the weakest in the series, and then, with the newer Half-Life 2 Source engine, Counter-Strike Source. CSGO is still running on the Source engine, albeit an updated one that allows it to look comfortable alongside other modern shooters such as Call of Duty. Aside from that little history lesson, Counter-Strike can be summed up pretty quickly. It's essentially a multiplayer-only effort, with Valve thankfully foregoing any attempt at storytelling like they did in Condition Zero. Of course, you can play with bots offline, but on anything but the hardest difficulty, they are woefully inadequate, and won't be providing anyone with the barest modicum of skill any kind of challenge. When playing, there are two teams, counter-terrorists and terrorists. If you are on the terrorist side, your mission is to escort a bomb, randomly assigned to one of the players in your team, but able to be thrown about in rather a cavalier fashion, to a bomb site and blow it up. If you are on the counter-terrorist side, your mission is to stop the terrorist side from making boom boom. And that's it really. At the start of each round, you can buy a variety of guns and grenades to help you in your mission, using money that you earn by killing other players or achieving objectives. There are other game modes such as Arms Race and Demolition that are a bit more casual in their approach, but the basic gist is always to shoot the other team while completing the objective. The standout feature of Counter-Strike has always been its reliance on skill. If you can aim and listen and think, you'll do just fine. There aren't any fuck you mechanics such as kill streaks or balancing items like blue shells to frustrate players. How well you do in this game is completely dependent on your ability to pick off people's heads and know thy enemy. This is precisely what has led to it being one of, if not the, most popular competitively played online first-person shooters of all time. And if you're new to the Counter-Strike series, that is literally all you need to know to get started with the game. But for those who have been in the world of CS before, and there are quite a few of you, it might be nice to know what Valve have updated in this version. To the most important things first, hitboxes and spray patterns. There was a post on the official Counter-Strike website that outlined the differences in hitboxes between Source and Global Offensive, and you can see here that they've really tightened the detection a lot. As they say in the blog post, a near miss on the model will still be a miss, and I think that's a really great move, because it's basically going back to 1.6 hitboxes, but with player models that are slightly larger. So it still feels a bit like Source as well, leaving it in a pretty sweet spot overall. Onto spray patterns, and they have had their randomization very noticeably increased, and while you can still do the standard pull down on spray to put your bullets on the right vertical height, the variation in horizontal spray really feels completely unpredictable. Now, a lot of folks are complaining that being able to learn spray patterns and use them to your advantage is a feature of Counter-Strike and shouldn't be removed. I respectfully disagree. I think that making the player focus more on tight bursts and ammo management is a positive thing overall, mainly because in standard 5v5 competitive play, I believe this will make the oft-seen sprayed team down a thing of the past, leading to more exciting bomb plants and site retake scenarios. And a skilled player can still make use of their environment and aim to nab multiple kills. All that being said, there is a lot of variation between weapons in this new spray behaviour, with submachine guns able to be used with relatively good accuracy while strafing, whereas rifles, such as the ubiquitous AK, can't hit the backside of a barn if the player is doing anything more than walking. I like this attempt at differentiating the weapons to a greater degree than they were in Source. The P90, especially, as well as some of the shotguns, have seen players take on different styles of play successfully, rather than just hanging out for the headshot pick with the more accurate rifles. Of course, in higher competitive play, it's probably going to go back to the big four, Desert Eagle, M4, AK and AWP. But it's nice that they're at least making an effort to shake things up in the less extreme tiers of the game. Moving on to maps, and every single map that is included has had some cosmetic work done to it, as well as some pretty game-changing alterations to the structure of the maps themselves in an attempt to make them more balanced. Most of the changes seem pretty reasonable, especially on maps that previously featured overwhelming favoritism to one side, although we'll have to wait and see what happens when pro teams go up against each other. There have already been a couple of community-made special versions of maps released that claim to offer more competitively minded layouts, but we'll see if they get taken up in competition. Wallbanging is still very possible, with the changelog indicating the guns that can provide penetration will do so through penetrable walls to a length of 7.5 feet, which is around 2 meters. You can see which weapons provide penetration when buying them, and there are varying degrees. There seems to be more surfaces that you can shoot through than in Source, and damage seems to be a little higher as well, although I don't have the raw stats to confirm this. It'd be nice if Valve could do something to show which surfaces are able to be shot through, even if it's just a video walkthrough of each map with some CVARs enabled, as it seems that at the moment it takes a bit of experimentation to see which do and which don't. Beyond the core game mechanics and towards what is probably my absolute favourite new addition to the game, we have a shiny new UI. Why is the UI my favourite thing? Well, if you play Source, you'll know that pretty much every single public server has undergone a particularly devastating entropy that has led them to all being 16v16 shitfests on DE Dust 2. Now, I have nothing against 16v16. Actually, that's a lie. It makes no sense to take maps that have been actively designed for 5v5 and cram an extra 22 players into them. It is stupid, and it requires no skill at all to simply save up for AWP and sit at spawn, racking up kills. In short, it's not CS. The ability to now quickly find a 5v5 game is a huge boon to players looking to play Counter-Strike the way it's meant to be played. We no longer have to rely on pugs, that is, externally organised matches, in order to experience the rush of 5v5 play with friends. And in my experience, if I join a server and it's just me and bots, it's taken on average less than 5 minutes for the server to be populated with real players. Then it's a simple matter of calling a vote to restart the match and we are on like Donkey Kong. Alright, I'm starting to ramble, so I'll cut it there. Overall, this is already a highly polished game that feels like it deserves to be included in the series. The guns feel good, the sounds are great, graphics are polished, and the gameplay is a lot tighter. Add to that a better UI, more game modes, and a skill-based matchmaking system, and you've got yourself an absolute bargain at $15 US. CSGO comes highly recommended to veterans of the series, and if you're a newbie looking for something a little bit more skillful than running around with remote control bombs and calling in helicopter strikes, I'd say give it a go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.